basically from the start of the coronavirus outbreak in China, this has affected us since January, given that many of the e-commerce clients were dependent on supply chains that originated in China. So the shutdown that happened on Friday, January 25th, were essentially right before Chinese New Year, which is usually scheduled. The timing of it was really unfortunate, of course.
On one hand, we were hit very strongly because think of our hospitality sector is completely frozen. We were doing a project with the Four Seasons in San Francisco, which had been paid for already, and they just disappeared, fell off the map. They're dealing with so many other things.
As soon as we got into lockdown mode, I had one of my largest clients was looking to cancel some commitments that they had made in national television, and I had to talk them off the ledge and let them know that it was more important to maintain the presence that they had. I think trying to maintain as much normalcy and company rituals as you can is important, right? So keeping the people connected is critical to make them function. Make sure they know what's going on. Make sure they have the tools and the technology and the resources to do what's needed to be done.
So my personal experience reminds me that retaining employees in these most challenging times pays back. Pays back in the term of the most are the employees turn up to become some of the most loyal resources. Thus, retaining these aces does not only help them, but eventually help us too.
You have to weigh the interest equally there, right? You have to protect the bottom line, but you have to protect, your employees' safety, et cetera. And of course, clients' interests. Are projects getting done? Are we meeting results? Are we optimizing campaigns to respond to lower conversion off of, based on a period of disaster or crisis like this? Motivation, keeping everybody focused on the goal, ensuring that, we do our best as business owners to take care of our teams, our staff. At the end of the day, we're supporting families all together here. And, that's the whole reason why we do this.
Our top priority was to access funding as quick as possible because we had no idea for how long funding would be available. We launched an equity crowdfunding campaign, which in a month we've raised a few $1,000s, and we also received PPP loans, and that kind of gave us a little more tranquility. The first thing I did was to model a doomsday model. So to think if we go for 6 months with zero revenue, which is a possibility, it's not what's happening, but it's a possibility that can happen. How long can we survive, and what do we have to do? How many people do you have to let go? Which is a sad calculation to have, but you always have to have in mind. So stress test your finances and see how far you can go. And in this kind of scenario, you should think of at least 12 to 18 months of runway in the bank.
So first of all, we identified all the sources of the expenditure and listed them down in the descending order of their impact in enhancing the business. So, how we filtered all those expenses and their impact. First of all, since we are using a lot of cloud tools, so unsubscribing the tools that are add-ons only. So my 2 cents would be a couple pieces of advice. Foresee the post-pandemic world with entirely new consumer journeys and polish your value proposition accordingly. Secondly, evolve your system and teams so that they do not end up to the disrupted and obsolete sides.
It's going to take time, but everything's going to come back, and I think there's a good chance that through all of this, we might result in more small businesses emerging than we had before the pandemic hit. As people are spending more time at home, they're more introspective. And I also think, to Manuela's point, there's no underlying issue here that's causing this. This is something that was thrust upon us. And as soon as it's over, I think, there are people who are going to have some long-term effects, but I think, we're going to come out of this in a good way.